at babbins.com, or please feel free to reach out to your Babb account manager. After the program, we will compile all the questions, provide the answers, and send them out to everybody, along with a link with a copy of this recorded webinar. So I guess we'll get started. To get started, this provision is new for everybody. This requirement is new. We've never had to do this before. And over the last few weeks, we have been receiving a lot of questions. We hope this brings some clarity to the issue of providing these notifications of exchanges. Today's agenda should be short, is short, and we hope to be concise and to the point. We'll start with some general information about the notification requirement. Also talk about who has to provide these notices, what are the penalties, how do we actually provide these notices, and how do we complete the model notices. Some basic general information about this notification. Healthcare reform, PPACA, it's requiring employers to provide this notice to all current employees and new hires. This is really designed to make sure employees know about the existence of these marketplaces or exchanges, and also to provide employees with general information about their employer's plan, but more specifically, if it qualifies for minimum value and the affordability testing, which is baked into the law. The Department of Labor has also issued a couple model notices for employers to use. We'll go into that in a little more detail towards the end of today's program. One of the questions we've been receiving lately is, we're a small employer, do we have to provide this notice? We're a large employer, how will they know we provide this notice? So really, to get down to it, this requirement applies to all employers who are subject to the Fair Labor Standards Act. If you're wondering if that's you, and generally speaking, it applies to all employers that employ at least one employee and have at least $500,000 of annual sales volume. Most employers will have to provide these notices. There has been recent discussion about penalties or the lack thereof. Back on September 11th, the Department of Labor, they issued an FAQ, frequently asked question, on the exchange notice penalties. In this FAQ, they stated that there are no fines or penalties under PPACA for failing to provide this notice. It is good to mention that although the lack of penalties from PPACA, that does not always translate into a lack of consequences. Plan sponsors still continue to have the fiduciary obligation to be forthcoming with their plan participants and beneficiaries. This is a requirement that may be viewed from the Department of Labor as within the scope of required disclosures to participants. Noncompliance within this scope could create an ERISA audit. These audits typically take between 2 and 3 months to complete. Although there are no monetary penalties, there is a threat of a potential ERISA audit. So it's just something to be aware of. So how can you provide this notice to your employees? Again, this notice has to be provided to all current employees before October 1st, 2013. New hires also must be provided these notices within 14 days of their hire date. You're able to hand these notices to employees or also comply by sending them through first-class mail. We have had questions about, can these be sent electronically? The answer is yes, but you have to make sure that you comply with the Department of Labor Disclosure Safe Harbor Act. And there is this disclosure is listed there as 29 CFR 2520.104B. So if you copy that into the DOL's website, that will bring you information about those electronic disclosures and making sure those are met. One thing we do recommend is to make sure that, if possible, we do have a receipt of the transaction of this notice being handed to employees. We're recommending, if it is possible, that employees sign off and acknowledge they received this notice and date that. So if and when anybody asks, did you complete this provision, are you complying, you can provide the appropriate documentation. How to complete the forms. Over the last few weeks, we have sent a few emails and notifications, just making sure everybody's aware of this requirement. The email you would have received looks a little something like this. There's two parts to this, and I want to make sure that everybody's comfortable with each of the parts. At the top of the screen, you'll notice there are two links. These links take you directly to the Department of Labor's model notices. The first link is for employers to use if they do offer a health insurance plan to their employees. The second link is a notice to use if you do not provide coverage to your employees. To make sure everybody's on the same page and understand how to complete these, we'll go through these here very quickly for you. So what you see now is the actual notification, the Department of Labor's notification model notice for employers who provide coverage. It's a 3-page form. At the bottom of the first page, this is missed many of the times we have seen these notices, but we want to make sure that you put in the contact information of the person who handles, administers, and can answer questions about the benefits that are offered at each of your organizations. This will be the first place that employees will see who to contact for additional information on the current plan being offered. On the second page, we want to make sure we include basic information about the employer: name, address, city, again, who we can contact about health coverage at this job. And in the top right-hand corner, we want to make sure we include the employer's identification number. We do understand that there are organizations that do have multiple EINs within their corporation and their corporate structure. It's important to make sure that the employees working under the specific employee ID numbers are receiving the appropriate EIN numbers on these forms. For instance, if we have 2 employer identification numbers for 2 sister companies, each employee under that sister company should have the appropriate EIN number for that sister company. We wouldn't want to give everybody the same notice with the same EIN number. Underneath the basic questions, there's some information that we want to check and give to employees. The first checkbox is a question: as an employer, do we offer health coverage? Most of the times, we have been seeing employers complete this checkbox that says some employees are eligible. And we're checking that box because if you have part-timers who are not eligible, we certainly don't want to click the first box of all employees. So we want to make sure that we let employees know that some employees are eligible, and those eligible employees include all full-time benefit eligible employees working 30 hours or more on average. With respects to dependents, we do offer coverage. Eligible dependents are, we have typically seen in this box, spouses and dependent children up to age 26. Now this last checkbox here is very important. It states, if checked, this coverage meets the minimum value standard and the cost of this coverage is intended to be affordable based on employee wages. It's good to remember that the affordability test is based on 9.5% of the employee wages. So for the individual tier, premium tier for the health plan that is offered, if any employee wages are less than 9.5%, then that box should not be checked. So if coverage is unaffordable to any employee, that premium exceeds 9.5% of their employee wages at your organization, we would want to make sure that box is not checked. However, if coverage appears to be affordable for everyone, please check that box and hand it to employees. Again, if there are any questions as we go along, please feel free to send an email to jmb@babbins.com. If we're going fast, this is recorded and we will provide an additional link to this recording. Page 3 of this employer notice is optional for all employers. What we have seen is most employers have chosen to not complete this form, as the first two forms seem to create a lot of questions and confusion among employees thus far. We tend to see this form being completed if, as an employer, we intend to stop offering health care, or we currently do not offer health care and we are going to begin offering health care coverage. But again, this is an optional page that you can choose to complete if you would like. We'll now take a quick peek at the second notification form, and this is the form that we would want to provide employees who we currently do not offer coverage to, and we will not offer coverage to moving forward. This form looks very similar to the first form. It's a 2-page form. However, on the first page, you'll notice that there is no contact information to input on this first page. Page 2 is the same as it was on page 2 of the notification that we do offer coverage. We want to make sure we provide employees with the name, address, employer ID number. Again, the employer ID number is specific to who those employees are working for. And this notice is really designed to make sure employees know that coverage is not offered to them. They may be able to obtain subsidies through the marketplace and where to go to find those subsidies. If we take one more look at the email that was sent earlier, on the bottom half of this email, it says, click here for more information on your responsibilities regarding health insurance marketplace. If you haven't clicked that or taken a look at what that link really is, we'll take a quick peek at that here now too. Once you click on that link, it'll pull up a three-pager for you. And really the first page, what it is designed to do, it's designed to give you as an employer general information about the marketplace or exchange. Gives you a little more guidance, making sure that you know the deadline is this October 1st. This notice must be provided to employees prior to then. And also talks a little bit about what the health insurance marketplace is. And there are two types of insurance marketplaces. One public, which we are referring to today, and one private. It is important to know that when we give the notice that we do not offer coverage, and employees have the opportunity to enroll on the public exchange, coverage purchased through the public exchange will be done with after-tax dollars. So this is here for your reference. In addition to this form, we also included sample employee memos. We believe that if we give an employee this notification of exchange form by itself, it may cause more confusion. We're recommending that employers prepare memos for employees to give them an idea of what this notification is, what it's all about, and to give them a little more information on it. Please feel free to use one, parts, or both of these memos for your employee workforce. The first one is the memo for if we do offer affordable coverage. And the second memo is for if we do not offer affordable coverage. Again, just general information to give to employees so they have a better understanding of what this exchange is, as most people today still don't know about these provisions. So like I said earlier, we wanted to be brief, we wanted to be concise, and we wanted to try to provide guidance on this notification form, how it had to be completed, and what it really meant. So again, I want to thank you for attending this morning's webinar. I'll reiterate, if there are questions, please email them to my attention, jmb@babbins.com. After this webinar, we will send the recording and also a list of the questions and answers for everybody to review. I hope this was helpful. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and really thank you for taking the time to be on the webinar this morning. Have a great afternoon, everybody.